Good to be back. After 2 weeks being stuck in the jungle, actually not really stuck, sometimes almost stuck because it's very muddy. Sometimes the road, the walkway, when you walk from the place where we, as far as we can go with the four-wheel drive, but then into the place where we want to stay for the 2 weeks, is still about 5 hours hike. And you can imagine 5 hours is not just taking your handbag with you. We have to bring everything along, a tent, mosquito net, if you want a sitting cushion or a yoga mat to lie down, that can be helpful, arms bowl. And then, of course, what are we going to eat for 2 weeks? There's no 7-Eleven, I checked, in the middle of the jungle. So, as you know, we've been over there in Borneo, Sabah, and East Malaysia, and it's called Maliau Basin. Legend has it that there's a huge crater where, historically speaking, a meteoroid hit the surface of the earth and left behind this huge valley crater. But then actually they never found any archaeological proof for that. So it turns out, most likely it's just a myth, just a story. It's just natural plates of the surface of the earth have shifted and has created that valley, so to speak. But it looks like an intent where something might have struck, but not really the case. So anyway, we were there for 2 weeks, and as I said earlier, how do you find food in the middle of the jungle? So we were fortunate that we had a whole support team with us. Brother Lawrence from Penang originally, now he's living in Sabah since a long time. He came along, and together with a group of kapias, devotees, male devotees, who would join us in our jungle trip. It was a group of 5 or 6 people who would walk in with the monks, and they would be the ones who then, in the morning, get up, prepare breakfast, lunch. Basically, we were eating just one time. So 8 o'clock, they would cook earlier and prepare everything so that we have something to eat. Of course, for themselves also. So then all the food that we need, 12 monks plus 5 kapias, so already 17 people. And then also there are some rangers. Because the jungle is so dangerous, they wouldn't allow you into the jungle on your own. So all kind of wild animals can be there. Wild cats, panthers, elephants. Not exactly that area where we were, but in that forest. Elephants are around. What else do we have? Snakes, of course. And all kind of almost unknown, very rare species. Recently, a team of biologists, university students, also went into the same forest, not for so long, just for 2 nights, before we came. And they go there also to count and find new species that have never been discovered before. So many of those very unknown creatures living deep in the forest. And then sometimes even they still discover new ones that have never been seen before by humans. Last time they came in to count and to take track of rats. Rats? Who's interested in rats? Well, it turns out in that forest there are around 100 different species of rats. There's a lot of variety. I didn't know. Normally we try not to get involved with rats, right? We're not so interested in their subtle details. So, as I said, therefore we also have rangers to keep everything safe. Also, if there are bushes, a thicket, they clear the walkway that we can walk properly. And then also porters who help to carry in some of the luggage. Because also our kapias, very hard to carry in the luggage for 2 weeks, food for 2 weeks. If you calculate roughly in your own mind, for 2 weeks, 20 people, how much food will they need? It's a lot, right? So they had separate porters who had a big backpack who would just bring in the food and then they leave again. So some of them carrying 30 kilos on their back. The maximum we have seen is 40 kilos. And it's going up and down a slope and slippery, amazing. So then, finally we arrived and settled in. Then in the forest we were looking at our places, finding a flat area, and then the monks would put up their mosquito net, their tent, and then camp somewhere out there. But not as a group, We're spreading out in the forest. So we don't want to see each other. No, we didn't quarrel, but we want to experience the sense of seclusion. And also, being just one of the forest animals, so to speak, and see also learning to work with fear. You can imagine in the nighttime when you lie down, and then you hear some footsteps coming close. And then you don't know what is it. And interestingly, at nighttime, when you hear anything, it always sounds like something huge, like a big animal. And then sometimes you take the torchlight and shine outside. Oh, it's just a lizard or a gecko. So most of the things is actually not dangerous things. One of our monks actually, he encountered sometimes at the evening time, night time, when he was going out, maybe go to the bathroom or something. And then he would look in the forest and suddenly 2 eyes stare at him. 2 yellow eyes. But he cannot see anybody. It's so dark in the jungle. But clearly, and then he's walking by, and then you can see the eyes moving like this. Whoa, you know? Quite creepy. So then, this was the first night. And then next day also, same situation, similar. The eyes in the jungle. But on the third day, was 4 eyes. So it seems whatever animal that was, he brought his friends along. So 4 eyes staring at him like that. So this went for a couple of days. And then one time, actually, they came to him and they chased him. It was some kind of wildcat. He showed maybe about this size. Not super, like a dog size. And they were making funny sounds. So trying to frighten him and almost maybe attacking. So he turned around and ran back into his tent, closed the zipper, didn't see anything anymore, and then just waited. Okay, seems they moved on. It's kind of interesting, you know, you're just inside a small tent or a mosquito net. How much protection does that really give? It's a very thin piece of cloth. There's no challenge for an elephant, for a wildcat to scratch that and open that up, or for a bear. Not a challenge. But somehow you feel quite safe inside, you know? I don't know how that works. Inside that small little layer of protection, maybe the mind thinks, I cannot see them, they also cannot see me, they don't exist anymore. So somehow, well, then they move on with their own lives. Kind of interesting. But actually, the most annoyance in terms of animals, creatures, are not the wildcats, not the snakes, not bears, not elephants. You know these? Leech. Actually, we have plenty of leech also here in SBS. If you go in the jungle behind SBS, in the forest, also plenty of leech there. So already on the hike, you know, sometimes they stick to your feet and they suck your blood, and then you're bleeding there, and it doesn't stop because they insert some kind of sliver that increases blood flow. So you keep bleeding for a long time from this small, tiny wound. But it's not dangerous. It's just a bit annoying. Some of the wounds can get infected and it's itchy for a while. But usually they stay down at the legs, at the feet. After the hike one time, when I arrived at the camp, so I checked the soles. Wow, here a whole batch, 4 or 5 leech together. On the other leg, the same thing, usually between the toes where you don't see them. So yeah, you take them off, it's bleeding for a while. But as I said, it's not dangerous. I think it's well worth it because we were rewarded with a fantastic jungle. Big trees, waterfalls. So if you want to take a shower, you don't need to go find a shower. Just go to the waterfall, to the stream. You can bathe there, you're completely by yourself. You can meditate there. Oh, fantastic. So it's a lot of time for practice. Nothing else to do anyway, right? What can you do? There's no entertainment. There's no signal. You know? Even if you bring your phone, you don't need to bring it anyway because there's no signal anywhere. No Wi-Fi hotspots. And then, also no distractions. You know, no books, no library, nothing to do. So sometimes you're in the tent, you meditate, or on the river, you meditate. Okay, what else can I do? Nothing else. Nothing around. So sometimes also you have to learn to deal with boredom. After a while, of course, the first day you do, so nice. But then the mind also, okay, what else can I do? Nothing around here. So normally nowadays, when we get bored, what do we do? Most people don't even know anymore. Boredom, what is this? Because as soon as we have nothing to do, take out the phone, right? We're swiping left, right, up and down. And So rarely we experience true boredom anymore. I once read some studies, they say it's actually quite important to have those periods where we have nothing to do. And previously you would just sit and stare out the window, like 50 years ago, before the internet, before smartphones. But nowadays we don't experience that much anymore. There's always something, some kind of entertainment, or social media. So we don't have those moments anymore where we just sit and do nothing. There's always something to do. And they say it's actually quite important to have these periods for the mind to contemplate, to have the freedom to think about life. What am I doing with my life? If we're constantly doing stuff, if we're constantly in action, we don't have the leisure and we don't have the headspace for holding on and just contemplating, how am I spending my time? Like the Buddha said, a reflection one should frequently do is the days and nights are relentlessly passing. How well am I spending my time? Which is an invitation to check. Am I spending my time skillfully, in a useful manner? Or am I just wasting away half of the day after day, week after week? And then at the end of my life, I don't know, I might regret how many hours I've spent maybe on social media or YouTube. Or did I live my life skillfully in a useful manner? So sometimes having these periods where we have nothing to do, very useful, very helpful to introspect. What am I doing with my life? Should it make some changes? So it's actually really helpful. So maybe also in the future you don't have to go into a jungle to do that, but sometimes when you have to wait for a bus or for a train or for a meeting to start, instead of, let me check my phone, just sit there, close your eyes, can keep the eyes open. And then that's the time where often interesting reflections can come up. So we shouldn't always clutter every minute, every moment with some activity. So this is also a good learning process. Sometimes when you go in a jungle far away, there is nothing that could distract or that we could use as distraction. So then also the mind will have almost like an invitation to see itself, to watch the body, watch the mind. So then after almost 2 weeks, we embarked on our journey back out. And of course also very dangerous in terms of you can stumble on many tree roots on the ground. So you have to be really careful, really mindful when you're walking. Especially if you walk a bit faster, it's so easy to stumble over something. But this time really good, nobody got injured. We have one monk who injured himself, but not in the forest while walking, but at the camp itself. He just hit his toe against the bench. So he hit the leg against that, and it was quite swollen and maybe broken, we don't know. There's a hospital there. But then he just let it heal and just rest for a couple of days, and it was okay. By the time we were walking back, he could walk again. So in between, it was quite painful. But no major injuries. So I think that's the most important thing usually. So yeah, it was a fantastic time, and we're already looking forward for the next time. But usually we go only once a year. It's just nice. This time we went to Sabah. Next year maybe somewhere else. So I think last year we've been to Thailand, the Taudom forest. So this year Sabah. Next year we will see where we'll go. So it's also a good way for introducing newly ordained monks or the Sangha in general for forest lifestyle, for encountering solitude, simplicity. Even though in SBS also we live a very simple lifestyle, but then compared to living under the tree, that of course is even way more basic, you can imagine. And also how to do without all the comforts, right? You don't have a fan to turn on, or aircon. Sometimes it's too hot, sometimes it's too cold. I have to deal with it. Sometimes there are mosquitoes, sometimes there are ants, so we have to deal with all of that. Sometimes we don't know what kind of creatures are outside. But sometimes the most dangerous creature is the creature inside. The mind, the defilements, desires, aversion. So all of that we have to deal with. There's no escaping. So it's a really good learning experience. Actually, we had a second group also, because for the monks and also the helpers, I prefer to be mostly just males, just men together, just for simplicity's sake. But then there were also some female kapias who have helped in the preparation of the trip, with the arrangements. And so they also, by themselves, also went into the same jungle. And they had a separate group. They stayed at a different camp, about maybe 6 walking hours away. And they also stayed there. Actually quite brave, you know. The only difference, they didn't live under the trees. So they actually have some very simple accommodations, so double-story beds there. There's a camp, like a youth camp. So just very simple wooden structure in the forest. But then there were some cooking facilities there. And so they would make use of that. So they didn't camp under the tree in a tent, but they have a proper roof there. But still very simple, and still can experience the lifestyle of living deep in the jungle. So a small group of them, also all of them meditators, so they chose also to do their own retreat. And then only at the end we would meet again, and then have, I think, one at the central place. There was one night where we stayed at the same camp. Okay, so it's just a small summary from our experience, and just to share with everyone. Another thing that was interesting also, of course, there's also costs involved for this event, because they don't let you in, so you have to pay something for the forest department who are managing that campsite, and then also for the rangers, for the porters, food. But it was amazing to see how quickly people were chipping in together to make that possible for the monks. So many of the monks also have expressed their gratitude for all the supporters and people making this possible. Because it would be impossible for the monks themselves to do that. Because you cannot go so deep into a jungle that you can't go an arm's round. Basically, we always have to be in some proximity to a village or a city so that we can come out and collect food. Because the monks are not allowed to store food. So we cannot just alone go into a jungle. So for that reason, we're living here in SBS, but then within half an hour, we can come here down to Dims. But we cannot go 6 hours into a deep jungle. How are we going on arms round every day? So, but then with the help of the supporters, the kapias, and all those who have made it possible, we can sometimes have these experiences of living very deep in a forest, in a virgin jungle. So also the monks expressed a lot of gratitude and thankfulness for that. Sadhu, sadhu.